Hi, this is Kevin Deal. Today we're going to talk with Max Maud from Fyne Audio in Scotland.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
All right. Look, I got to tell you guys something. I'm about ready to just go crazy. I'm ready to just explode. But I got to say something before I do. Please, if you end up wanting to look at Fyne Audio speakers, you got to support your local dealer. I got to make sure I drive that home to people. Every town is better off with a record store and a hi-fi store, and I mean that with all sincerity. So we're here with Max because I almost feel like the cavalry has arrived. You know, the first time I saw your products, I just about choked up because I could see, oh my God, I mean, this really is the real deal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. I guess people would say this is not really our first rodeo when it comes to it. We've kind of been doing this for quite a while, even though Fyne's still quite a young brand. We're only 7 years old, but people know our past. So yeah, and actually within the 7 years we've existed, we didn't do anything in the vintage area for 5 years because Dr. Paul was adamant he wanted to take the designs technology to a whole different level. So yeah, we first showed it towards the end of 2022, and it's been really crazy with the two ranges that we do.
And let me just say something here, that I actually, shortly after I met Max, and I started just saying, oh my God, realizing what was going on here and what is really going on, and that this is a real company that really makes things in Scotland. I said, well, what about Dr. Paul Mills? Because I thought maybe he was just like renting his picture or something to the company, but wasn't really working there. And within like minutes, I was on a video call with him, and I'm like, Dr. Paul Mills? I mean, because what was his position?
Dr. Paul was head of acoustic design at the old company for forever, since the 1980s. I mean, I was one of the young guys, and I was only there like 20 years. I mean, this is, it's just, the A-team.
Let's talk about what this is about. This is the Vintage 10, which I think is one of my favorite speakers that I've ever seen in my life. And I'm going to pull the grill off. And why don't you tell us about the Vintage 10 and then what you can get up and below this line and what it's about?
Yeah, so this is the Vintage Classic 10.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, there's two ranges within vintage. There's the full vintage and there's the Vintage Classic. So I think a good analogy would be, so this is, dare I use it, what the hell, we all like them, so why not? This is a Porsche 911, and the full vintage versions are like the 911 Turbo or even the GT3. So this is the Vintage Classic range. It uses all Dr. Paul's latest technology that we developed on the really the flagship F1 range. It's got the latest generation Isoflare drive unit, the Fyne flute, and for me, most importantly, as a musician or a drummer, a lot of people would say you're not a musician if you're a drummer, but I play drums and I love drums. So we have the BassTrax diffuser system in the bottom, which controls the LF, and it's a little bit, the tail wags the dog. So if the low frequencies are not correct, it does have a bearing on everything else. And it's Dr. Paul's patented design, and it's really in all Fyne's top loudspeakers, and it makes a difference. So everything in this Vintage Classic model is found in the bigger guys. In short, the difference is cabinet. Now this is a great cabinet. It's a high density cabinet. It's very, very strong. It has a real walnut finish, but it's not as extreme or as advanced as the full vintage models, which are in a whole different area, really.
Yeah, but can I say something? This weighs 90 pounds. I mean, if you look at products that might be compared with it, it's about 35% heavier.
Oh, so you wouldn't want it dropped on your toe?
Yeah, no. And plus, this cabinet is not made in Asia. You guys make this.
Now, this is made. This is made in the cabinet's made in Europe. I mean, if we could find a tree good enough in Scotland, we'd there'd be sawdust on the floor. But the truth of the matter is there isn't. You have to go to Europe, but it's all manufactured in Scotland. The drive units are made possibly by Dr. Paul's on hand in Scotland or by one of the other technicians in the Fyne factory, and everything else. We have some very close suppliers, metalwork suppliers that will make the dome, which is like a mountain. It's like a peak, and I'm sure someone might drop in an image into the video where you can see how it works with it's a twin cavity design. So the air comes down through the cabinet, just like an exhaust on a car. And when these things are rocking, you better believe it, there's some air moving, So as the air comes down through the cabinet, hits the top of the peak, it turns what we would call plane wave energy into 360 degrees. Imagine a still pool of water or pond of water, and you drop a load of stones into it, it's a mess. You drop one pebble into it, and the rings radiate out from that point in an isotropic manner. So you're controlling the energy, and what that really means for you is it limits the boundary effect. So you can put a bigger speaker near the wall, which you could never really do before. So it's really good for that. That's the BassTrax diffuser system. And at the other end, you've got this beautiful Isoflare drive unit. Pull the drive unit out, the chassis or the basket as we call it, you'll see the Fyne logo in the casting. We don't buy from anyone else, and we get approached all the time from people, can we buy your drive units? Clearly we say no. It's a multi-fibre cone. People say it's a paper drive unit. It's not a paper drive unit, it's a multi-fibre cone. So, and the mix is a big secret for Dr. Paul. It's like he's baking the ultimate cake. The mix of this paper fibre is very important. It's a compression drive unit. People ask what these serrations are around the edge. Well, we call it fine flute. What it helps do is to minimise or limit the cone energy that dissipates out from the centre, and helps terminate that. But basically, we're talking about a two-way box with a point source drive unit. What is a point source drive unit? Well, the sound is coming from one point. What's the best example of that? Well, we're humans. We've got two eyes, two ears. We've only got one mouth. So the off-axis performance is really, really good, and the sound's coming out from one point. And it's just the right way to do things, And I guess bit of a cheap shot, but I'll make it. All the press can't be wrong. So in the 7 years we've been doing this, throughout all the models, we've really delivered as a brand, we think. But we've got an ambition to keep improving, and with our great partners around the world, we can have some fun.
This is I just have to talk about that improvement thing, because when I listen to this and compare it to things that were designed years ago, there's such a massive change, and I didn't expect that. Now, one thing I noticed, and I don't want to give any secrets, is this, that even on your 15-inch driver, you've changed the crossover point. So you've made some changes to the bass correction plug. You've changed everything, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean,
right?
Even this 10-inch goes down to get it right, Max, get it right. I think it goes down to 28 socket. It does. 28. This is a 94. So some of the bigger guys are up to like 97 dB efficient. This is only 94. So you don't need anything of an amplifier to drive it. But of course, you need a good quality amplifier to control it. Driving something and controlling something, two very different things. Very easy to drive, good quality amplifier to control it, very important. But the crossover point is, I think it's at 750 cycles, which we discussed earlier. I always remember that because it's the capacity of my Suzuki motorbike, of course. So that's my other. Oh,
you have a Katana?
No, it's a GSXR 750.
Oh, yeah, okay, there you go.
Anyway,
there you go.
So that's why we remember 750. So.
All right, now the controls on the bottom. This is the other part of what sets the speaker apart, and I love it so much.
Yeah, well, you've got the presence control and you've got the HF energy control. So these things are so goddamn accurate that, in a very precise way, you can alter or attenuate or control. Everyone's room environment's different. In the past, people had maybe tried controlling things by changing cables, which of course you can still do. But, the HF energy will alter alter the treble by a couple of degrees either way. And sometimes, you know, people are turning it and saying, "No, it's broken, it doesn't work." Well, it does work, it's just that it's very subtle. But the presence control, that alters really the mid-range or the vocal or the voice, because that is the sweet spot. That's what these point source loudspeakers are all about. It's about the vocal. You know, and what you can do by adjusting the presence control is move that image a little bit forward or a little bit after. You know, it's a little bit, you can just soften it or bring it a little bit. If you're listening to Adele or whatever other artists are available, you can just adjust it for your environment to get it absolutely perfect for what you want on your system. So it's a nice adjustment to have. And on the big full fat vintage models, you also have that control of the presence and the HF energy. So it's really good. Yeah. And this is one of 4 models in the vintage classic range. There's an 8-inch floor stander, a 10-inch, this one, floor stander, and a bigger 12-inch floor stander. There's also an 8-inch bookshelf, so a small version of the
and they have a dedicated stand made for that 8-inch, and that thing is crazy.
The stand's really good. That's also made in the UK by our metalwork partner. We don't weld stands in the factory. We're kind of too busy making the drive units and other things, but it's made in the UK. It's our design. You can actually fit LPs in it or albums in it as well. It's really good value for money. Really good value for money. And obviously that goes on the 8-inch bookshelf.
Now, the bass driver, the bass exits out of this area down here, and like you said, this is going to be less sensitive to room placement compared to other speakers, and that's why this is a patented design, right?
Yeah, that's been for me, that was the big step forward.
That's
what
the big deal.
Dr. Paul did, the BassTrax diffuser, the patented BassTrax diffuser system. So, you know, there was all, everything has a weak area, and it was always a problem in previous lives without getting too, you know, into detail. The plumminess or the lack of control in the bottom end was always the challenge. Is with most loudspeakers, and the extra definition or that tight control, where again as a drummer, semi-professional drummer of many years, and someone who plays the bass guitar quite badly, but I love it, I can really hear the difference and the separation between the kick drum and the bass guitar notes being hit or plucked. And that's where the BassTrax diffuser system works for me, because you can hear the definition, the separation, as opposed to just having loads of boom, 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 and it's just a bit of a mess at the bottom end.
Even on the big vintage 15, that's what blew my mind, because we've got that playing across the street. It's a big 15-inch driver, but the mid-band pitch is so spot on. It sounds like you're listening to a 10-inch. But then it's got the bottom end of a much larger driver. I don't know how they did it, but they did it, and it is really something to be experienced. Now, the grill is so cool, and I don't want to mess this up, because this speaker actually does not belong to me. This belongs to a wonderful customer. They're already sold. I'm going to get a pair, but I can't yet because there's none to be had for me. But anyway, the grill will attach on the back with magnets. And then I love, what did you guys say this comes from? It's inspired by a Scottish kilt?
Well, yeah, it's got a little bit of a tartan sort of mock design, and you know, it's really good. But I always say, you know, just incidentally, the like on the front, the magnets on the rear are completely invisible, so you don't know they're there. But you know, you've spent a lot of money on a loudspeaker. If you're listening properly, I mean, they sound really good with the grill on, of course they do. But if you want to listen to them seriously, for the second it takes, take them off. You've got easy storage on the back, out the way. You're not going to buy an expensive camera and leave a bit of the lens cap on, cover it. You just wouldn't do it. Take it off, put it on the back. We've made it easy. So, and if you look at the attention to detail on this, Kevin, you've actually got a real leather pull and the little Fyne logo. And if I quickly take it off again, the attention to detail, how we've not, you can't see the stitching where, you know, where the cloth goes onto the grill. It's all covered up with another.
I didn't notice that.
See that?
Yeah.
So
That's not like that on other products.
No, we could have saved a bit, but we just wanted to do it right. Perfect. So the attention to detail is Fyne. Excuse the pun. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and by the way, the
clicks
name
on.
Fyne Audio does not come from like, hey, she's fine. It comes from Fyne Lock.
Yes,
which-
Fyne, Fyne.
Yes.
Yeah. No one's ever said, by the way, that you're fine, Max. No one's ever said
No.
that to me.
And I'm going to be visiting that soon and going and taking a peek at the factory because there is an actual factory with a real factory address.
Well, you can just get your iPhone out, or other models are available.
Yeah.
Scroll, go to fyneaudio.com, scroll
Right
down
on.
the bottom.
Right on.
The address is on there. Dr. Paul's, I don't know what time it is in the UK at the moment, but all the guys will be there making stuff.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Max, thank you so much for going over the vintage classic line. We're going to maybe do a couple more things while he's out here visiting. But again, make sure you go to your dealer, but make sure you do your due diligence. It's a lot of money. Get something that's going to inspire you. Get something, the purchase of a lifetime. And this is something that certainly trips my trigger. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Thanks,
Speak
Max.
soon.